Justin Bieber sat quietly in a corner of the bustling LAX terminal, his black hoodie pulled low over his face and a baseball cap hiding most of his features. The airport was alive with the sounds of hurried travelers, rattling luggage, and announcements echoing over the intercom. He scrolled aimlessly through his phone, appreciating the rare moment of anonymity. The flight to Atlanta, where he was scheduled to perform at a charity concert for underprivileged communities, had been delayed for hours, leaving him stranded among the chaos. In a quieter corner near the large windows sat an elderly man named Henry, his weathered hands busy crafting a small wooden bird with a pocket knife. He wore a neatly pressed brown coat, its edges frayed but clean, and his calm demeanor contrasted starkly with the surrounding hustle. Justin noticed him and smiled, appreciating the tranquil energy Henry seemed to radiate. Suddenly, sharp voices cut through the ambient noise. A group of travelers nearby, dressed in sleek business attire, began mocking Henry. Their sneers and dismissive remarks carried across the terminal, disrupting the calm. Justin's relaxed expression shifted as he listened. His grip tightened on his phone, and a sense of unease filled him. It was clear to Justin something needed to be done. In a quiet corner of the bustling LAX terminal, an elderly black woman named Clara White sat peacefully near a large window, her hands busy knitting a vibrant yellow scarf. Despite the chaotic energy of the airport, she exuded a sense of calm that seemed almost out of place. Her neatly pressed coat, though worn with age, reflected her dignified presence. Clara's focus on her work seemed to shield her from the noise around her. Nearby, a group of well-dressed travelers, 2 women and a man in crisp business attire, began speaking loudly, their sharp voices breaking through the terminal's constant hum. Their words, laced with disdain, were aimed at Clara. "What is she just sitting there taking up space?" one of the women said, her tone dripping with irritation. The others laughed, their comments escalating. "Does she even know how to use the check-in kiosks?" the man added mockingly. Clara's hands paused for a moment, the knitting needles stilling as tension crept into her shoulders. Though she kept her eyes on her work, the remarks clearly registered. Her quiet dignity contrasted sharply with the group's cruel laughter. From a distance, Justin Bieber noticed the scene, his expression hardening as he processed the unfolding situation. Justin Bieber observed the scene from a distance, his casual posture tightening as he saw the group continue to mock Clara. The elderly woman sat quietly, her hands resting on her knitting, her composure intact despite the cruel remarks directed her way. A surge of determination overcame Justin. He pulled his hoodie tighter around his head and stood up, striding toward the group with purpose. "Hey," he said, his voice calm yet resolute. The trio turned to face him, their expressions a mix of surprise and irritation. "That's enough." One of the women crossed her arms, her brows raising in mock challenge. "And who exactly are you?" she demanded. Justin didn't flinch. "Doesn't matter who I am," he replied firmly. "What matters is how you're treating her. It's wrong and you need to stop." The man in the group snorted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, great! A white knight swooping in to save the day." Justin ignored the jab, his focus unwavering. He turned to Clara, lowering his voice to a gentle tone. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Clara looked up, her dark eyes meeting his. "I'm fine, son," she said softly, though her voice wavered slightly. "I've dealt with worse." Justin clenched his jaw, the injustice tightening in his chest. "You shouldn't have to," he said, turning back to the group. "It's everyone's business to stand up when they see something like this." As the confrontation unfolded, the energy in the terminal shifted. A few heads turned toward Justin, some people pulling out their phones to record the scene. The murmurs in the growing crowd intensified until someone said aloud, "Wait, is that Justin Bieber?" The atmosphere changed instantly. Recognition spread like wildfire, and all eyes locked on him. For a moment, Justin hesitated, realizing his anonymity had vanished. But he quickly brushed it off. If anything, he thought, the attention might help amplify the message he wanted to send. Instead of escalating the argument, Justin crouched beside Ruth and asked gently, "Ma'am, do you mind if I play something for you?" Clara blinked in surprise, a small smile breaking through her otherwise calm demeanor. "I suppose that would be fine," she said, her voice steady despite the tension. Justin reached into his carry-on bag and pulled out his acoustic guitar, the sight of which drew gasps from the crowd. As he tuned the strings, the mocking trio looked on, their smug expressions replaced with curiosity and, perhaps, unease. Strumming a soft melody, Justin began to sing, his voice carrying through the terminal with a heartfelt sincerity. The lyrics spoke of unity, compassion, and the strength that comes from standing together. There's a place where we all belong, no matter the color, no matter the song, he sang. His words pierced through the room, the message touching everyone present. Even the offenders appeared visibly moved, their arrogance fading into silence. When Justin finished, the terminal erupted into applause. Clara wiped a tear from her cheek, her knitting forgotten in her lap. The tension had dissolved, replaced with an air of solidarity. Justin stood, looking at Clara with a warm smile, then turned to the crowd. "This is the world we need to create," he said, his voice firm but hopeful. The atmosphere in the terminal transformed as Justin's heartfelt song came to an end. What had started as a tense confrontation now felt like a moment of shared understanding. The applause grew louder, and voices from the crowd began to chime in. "He's right," a young woman said, stepping forward, her phone still recording. "We can't just let things like this slide." Others nodded and murmured their agreement, the collective energy shifting from passive observation to active solidarity. The group who had mocked Clara now looked visibly uncomfortable. One of the women muttered something under her breath, grabbed her bag, and motioned for her companions to leave. "Let's just go," she said, her tone now subdued. Without another word, they turned and walked away, disappearing into the sea of travelers. Justin remained standing, his guitar in hand, and addressed the crowd that had gathered. "This isn't just about Clara," he said, his voice steady but passionate. "It's about every time we see something like this happen and decide to stay quiet. That silence? That's how this kind of behavior keeps going." The crowd listened intently, a few people nodding or murmuring in agreement. "It's not enough to just ignore it or walk away," Justin continued. "We need to speak up. Even small actions like saying, 'This isn't right,' can make a difference." A ripple of agreement passed through the onlookers, the moment turning into a spontaneous call for change. People began sharing their own thoughts and experiences, creating a sense of unity that had been absent earlier. Justin's words had sparked something powerful, a collective realization that everyone could play a part in challenging injustice and creating a kinder world. After the crowd began to disperse, Justin sat beside Clara, his guitar resting on his lap. He looked at her with genuine curiosity and respect. "Clara?" he asked softly. "How do you stay so strong after everything you've been through?" Clara smiled, her gaze distant, as if recalling memories long past. "Kindness, son," she said. "Kindness and courage. They're choices we make, even when the world feels cruel. I've lived long enough to see both change the world. Intrigued, Justin leaned in closer. "Have you always believed that?" "Oh, yes," Clara replied, her voice tinged with pride. "I marched with Dr. King back in the day. Those were tough times, but we believed in what we were fighting for. I still believe in it." Her words deeply moved Justin. "You've seen so much," he said, his voice filled with admiration, "and yet you've kept your grace and hope." Clara chuckled gently. "Maybe it's time you use that big voice of yours to spread a little more kindness and courage." Justin nodded, feeling inspired by her wisdom. As they continued talking, Clara began to share stories from her remarkable past. "Back in the day," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion, "I marched alongside Dr. King. Those were hard times. Times when just standing up for your rights could cost you everything." Justin listened intently, his expression one of awe and deep respect. "You marched with Dr. King?" he asked, his voice tinged with disbelief and admiration. "Oh, yes," Clara replied, her eyes lighting up with pride. "We believed in what we were fighting for. Equality, justice, dignity. It wasn't just about us. It was about building a better world for everyone." She recounted moments of both fear and hope, the challenges of facing down prejudice, and the small but meaningful victories that kept her going. Her resilience, despite the hate she had endured, left Justin deeply moved. "You've been through so much," Justin said, his voice soft. "And yet, here you are, still kind and strong. I can't imagine how hard that must have been." Clara smiled warmly. "Strength doesn't mean not feeling fear, Justin. It means choosing to keep going despite it. And kindness, it's a choice too, one that can change hearts if you let it." Her words struck a chord with Justin, inspiring him to reflect on the power of using his own platform. He realized that Clara's strength and grace weren't just a testament to her character, they were a reminder of the difference one person could make by standing firm in love and justice. As their flight was finally called, Justin stood up and helped Clara gather her belongings. Before they parted, he turned to her with a warm smile. "Clara, can I take a picture with you? I think the world needs to hear your story." Clara chuckled softly, nodding. "If you think it'll help, then sure, young man." Justin snapped the photo, capturing the strength and kindness that radiated from her. Later that day, he posted it on his social media with a heartfelt caption. "Today, I met Clara, a woman who's lived through more history than most of us can imagine. She's faced hate with grace and strength, and her courage inspires me. Let's all stand up for what's right and be a little more like Clara. Love always wins." The post quickly went viral, sparking a wave of positivity across platforms. Fans and followers flooded the comments with messages of support, sharing their own stories of standing up against injustice. Clara's story and Justin's actions had become a rallying point for kindness and courage, inspiring people far beyond the airport terminal. Later that evening, at the charity concert in Atlanta, Justin stood under the bright stage lights, his acoustic guitar in hand. As the crowd cheered, he took a moment to address them. "Tonight," he began, his voice steady and heartfelt, "I want to dedicate this performance to someone incredible I met today. Her name is Clara, and she's one of the strongest, kindest people I've ever had the privilege of speaking with." The audience fell silent, hanging on his every word. Justin recounted Clara's story, her resilience through decades of prejudice, and her unwavering belief in kindness and courage. "She's lived through so much," he continued, "but she still chooses to believe in love, unity, and the power of standing up for what's right. We can all learn from that." With that, he strummed his guitar, and began to sing a song inspired by their encounter. The lyrics spoke of togetherness, courage, and hope for a world where love triumphs over hate. As the melody filled the room, the audience began to sing along, their voices rising in unison. The collective energy created a moment of pure solidarity, a reminder of the strength found in unity. As Justin finished, the crowd erupted into applause, their cheers echoing with a shared sense of purpose. That night, Clara's story became a beacon of inspiration, amplifying Justin's message of courage and compassion. If you feel this story has a deep meaning and spreads good values, please leave a comment on where you are watching from. And before leaving, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to watch the next part according to Justin.